So we're about a week removed from the Monday Night Raw debut on Netflix, and I thought they hit it out of the park. Um, and a lot of mainstream people, like the Hollywood Reporter, are reporting that they did double the amount of viewers that they would have done on USA or any other channel, which is awesome. Rumor is it's about 6 to 7 million people worldwide tuned in, and it's been getting a lot of mainstream attention. One of which is from, I wouldn't call this guy mainstream. It's a very niche, whatever you want to call it, audience, and that's John Campea talking about it. Now, Campea normally does movies. He doesn't do a whole lot of TV stuff, and he doesn't do a whole lot of sports stuff. But he did cover Raw's debut on Netflix, and he put it over. He said he watched it live, and it was a good show. And this is one of the things though that irks me when mainstream people start talking about wrestling. They treat it as if it's a joke. Campea really doesn't do it here, but it dispels the fact that there is no casual audience. And when they do something to make those outside people who have not really watched in 10 years come back in, it's only a one shot thing. Um, and it's covered by people now that when somebody like a John Campea covers this, I have to take it with a grain of salt because he does not know the wrestling business. He does not know why they do things the way they do. Um, like take this clip here. This is him talking about the audience of Raw and how they've now are reaching a global audience on Netflix.
I think you're very happy to see that on your first night, you drew double the numbers of what it was drawing before. And that's just in the United States. Globally, the show drew over 4 million viewers. So it still has some work to do with its international audience, but this was the first time that Monday Night Raw was truly going to be broadcast to a global audience.
So you see there, he's this whole myth, and he's not the only one to say this. This whole myth about this is the first time Raw's been broadcast to a global audience is dead wrong. It is dead wrong. Raw has been on TV over in um, England. They've been on TV in Mexico. They've been on TV in India. They've been on TV in Australia. They've been on TV at Japan. It just doesn't air live all at the same time in those countries. Now, I know it does in England. It does in England. And it will air live when they go to the UK. I remember the last time they went to the UK, um, it aired live in the Raw aired live in the UK at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then they ran it on a tape delay here in the US. They do air Raw live in the UK. They just air it at, let's see, it's 8 o'clock. It's at 1 o'clock in the morning in the UK. And then I think they have replays, during the week or whatever at a decent time when you can check it out. So to say this is the first now, to say this is the first time that it's been globally broadcast live is wrong. It's wrong. Now the key market for those people, the reason why, according to Dave Meltzer, and I do agree with this, is the India market. This is why Netflix wanted Raw. WWE has a big following in India, and it's been broadcast on their television over there in India for years. But Netflix is not a big deal in India. People in India aren't going to pay for Netflix. Netflix has very few subscribers in India compared to elsewhere. So Netflix figures, okay, we'll get something that these people like, put it on our platform, and they'll pay to watch it. Now, whether or not that's going to happen remains to be seen. But anyway, let's move on here. Here is here's more of John Campea talking about the Raw on Netflix.
And you know what? This came up in the Q&A part of the show the other day.
Mhm.
For the first time in years, I sat down and watched Monday Night Raw.
I have a feeling a lot of people on Netflix were like, huh,
Might as well check it out.
yeah, let's check this out. I never watched wrestling, but let's check this out.
Yeah, now I'm not going to become a regular Monday Night Raw viewer, but I mean, I grew up watching wrestling. I watch wrestling off and on most of my life.
Mhm.
They made sure they put in very familiar faces. They started off the show with Triple H. Undertaker made an appearance. John Cena came out. CM Punk had a match. Roman Reigns, who's now been around forever, had a big match. So it wasn't featuring a lot of the new faces. It was more like, hey, if people are going to tune in to check this out, we want to make sure. Like,
Yeah.
if people like John Campea are going to tune in who haven't watched in a while, it looks like their strategy was, we want to make sure that there are going to be faces on the screen that they recognize.
Right.
And sure enough, they did. And you know what? It's a pretty good show.
That stadium was freaking packed.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Intuit Dome?
Yeah.
The new LA Clippers stadium,
Yeah.
probably the best stadium in the world right now, like for like basketball, hockey arena sized.
Yeah.
Just insane. It's amazing. The technology is great. Our buddy Ryan was there and he was telling me about all the different technologies that they use all throughout the stadium, which is insane.
So there you see Campea putting over the show, and for the first time in a long time, he watched Raw. And he even I didn't record the clip, but at one point in this little blurb where he's talking about it, he even refers to SmackDown as Thursday Night SmackDown. SmackDown has not been on a Thursday night in about a decade, pal. I can't remember the last time SmackDown. They were on they went to Thursdays, then they went to Fridays, then they were on Tuesdays for a couple years, and then they went right back to Fridays. They have not been on a Thursday night in at least a decade, I believe. So that just shows you right there that the lapsed fan, they may tune in for this, but they're not coming back. The casual fan is not going to come back on a weekly basis. This just proves my point. Knowing these people, except for the one guy I'm about to feature, who clearly is a fan. People like John Campea and people who check this thing out, they're not going to keep watching it week after week like you want them to. It's not going to happen. You're never going to get that lightning bolt back in that bottle the way it was in the 90s. It's just not going to happen, guys. WCW dying the way it did killed it. WWE buying their competition in 2001 killed it. AEW was kind of maybe going to bring them back, but then the Snowman killed it with his booking. You only have one chance to make a first impression, and guess what? AEW flopped with it. WWE has one chance to make a first impression, but it's still WWE. It's still got that wrestling stigma to it. This is Vince McMahon's hugest problem when he was booking and trying different things. You're wrestling. Get over it. Embrace what you are. And I think they have embraced what they are to a certain extent. But no matter what you do, people are going to still see you as, oh, it's that wrestling. Except for people like me who follow the business and have an interest in the business and the way the business is ran. So here's one more clip from the John Campea show talking about the Raw Netflix debut.
It was really just that Raw story-wise didn't move anything on like I wanted, but a lot of the stuff they did was to grab the new viewer, grab the older fans that like haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, not so much the new viewer, but the people who haven't viewed for a while and hey, you might want to come back.
Just making a big spectacle out of it was the part where I thought they were trying to get new viewers in, because that was not Raw. That was like a
WrestleMania.
WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And what I find funny about the Hulk Hogan thing is it kind of shows you the difference in generation of the way wrestlers do things. If that was The Rock up there and that happened, he would have acknowledged the crowd.
Oh, he would have leaned into it.
He would have.
He would have went with. He would have
yeah.
taken on the bad guy.
He would have improvised on the spot.
Yep.
Hogan, from a different generation, he was told to say these lines, and he did. And that's unfortunate because I would have wanted him to at least, like it's like something going on, like a fire in the background, and everyone else is going fire, and he's like, no, it's fine. It's completely fine here.
So a couple things here. One, again, the people who haven't watched in a while coming back, they may have came back for that one night like you did, John. But like you admitted yourself, you're probably not going to watch next week. And that's the way people are. They viewed it as a spectacle. Now, and in reference to Hulk Hogan, because they do bring up the Hulk Hogan deal and about how that was the one part of the show that really didn't work. And I agree, it didn't. But from a standpoint of these were the lines he was wanting to say or asked to say, and that, no, Hogan was there for one reason, and it was to promote his beer product. And he was going to promote that. He had that promoter hat on. He was going to promote that beer product and tell people to go drink my beer, regardless of whether you cheer me or boo me. I'm going to ignore you, promote my beer, rip my T-shirt off, and put over Netflix, and there you go. The Rock would not have leaned into that and become a heel because if The Rock had a product to sell, he was going to sell that product too. Now, what they should have done is just aired like a little backstage vignette. They could have muted the crowd noise, and there you go. But no, they thought in their infinite wisdom that they can cart Hulk Hogan out there, who has made racist comments in the past and has done nothing to apologize really for it, as Mark Henry has said. And also, you put him out there in a predominantly blue state that did not vote for Donald Trump, and you put him out there who has been a staunch Trump supporter out there in a mostly Democratic audience, they're going to boo the crap out of you. I mean, a lot of people on the internet are going, politics didn't have anything to do with it. They were just going to boo him because he's a racist. Guys, the comments for racism were made almost 10 years ago. They've been at least 5 years ago. It's the fact that if he had never appeared for Trump, because he's been to places like New York and who's been, a blue state, and they've cheered him. They've used him in the past for things and they've cheered him, but they have not used him post election or while he was doing this Trump supporting stuff. Now, if they would have wheeled his ass out there in Florida, would have gotten cheered. They would have wheeled him out there in Georgia, Wisconsin, North Carolina, he would have gotten cheered. That's just the way of it. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Did John Campea cover this fairly? I think he did. Except for showing the fact that he does not know shit from Shinola about pro wrestling and the business. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. We'll see you down the road.